Hello and welcome in for our collective week ahead card polls. I know it's already Monday and it's like after 4 p.m. I am definitely feeling the squeeze of all of the time crunch and speed and just the way that things are morphing and shifting and changing, not just in our external worlds, but just internally how we're perceiving time. This is, as I've been saying, every week of May just naturally tends to be a busier time of year for many of us. And I know things are no exception over here in my world. I have a completely full house. There's a lot of activities going on. There isn't great weather, so everybody's sort of been cooped up. And so, navigating all of that in the 3D while wanting to connect in here for energetically, collectively, what we're looking at coming in this final week of May somehow already is all coming together in this space where I am feeling called right there to the magenta bridge, an energy that I had intuitively brought onto the altar space when I was setting it just before May 1st, feeling that sense of time and self-mastery, working with the element of time as a construct as we have perceived of it, and being in this sort of interesting in-between time where all of that is in flux, up for grabs, So I'm going to bring in that magenta ray for us this week, and just kind of wherever you are, however time is being perceived for you at this time, to just meet you where you are, to allow yourself still in that emerald dew energy that I brought in last week. So if you're catching these on the Sharecast, I shared a little 5-minute exercise, just bringing in the emerald dew, this energy for spirit uplift, renewal and recovery as a balm for these times. So we bring that in again as well. So feeling the emerald green and the magenta rays here. We're going to tune in for one last time into our Transient Light Tarot and the Find Your Way Oracle, both from Ari Wisner. So that means that this week is really building up to, on one hand, I feel like we just talked about that new moon in Taurus. We have that rare blue moon in Sagittarius happening to bookend the month. We started with the first, we had a full moon. Now we're going to have a second full moon, is what makes it a blue moon here, May 31st in the month of May. And that's going to be in that fiery sign of Sagittarius, where I feel a lot of movement, action, fire to go coming in. And that's, just under a week from now that we have that energy to really capitalize on, right? So this week, we're going to see what comes up. But then a brand new month kicks off, June. So I will be sharing as I'm able that, of course, the Empowerment Pack, we still had that bonus blue moon. So that is available as a la carte if anyone would like to really step into that energy in preparation for the summer season, as we have solstice coming up in June. And then if you would like to tune in to all of it in the month of June, that would be the Empowerment Pack kicking off. So stay tuned. All of that's opening up for booking for the 31st, as well as the month ahead. There'll be more to come. One of my favorites, the summer solstice. Elena Joy will be helping me. We've already been talking about setting our summer solstice altar, as she's been helping me the last couple years. So we'll be setting a very special summer solstice altar space, and then one of those signature offerings that I do with each of those points along the year, we have a summer solstice reading that will be available as a bonus in the month of June as well. I do also have the winter solstice for anyone in the southern hemisphere. So all of that forthcoming. Let's dive in now to get these 5 cards out, already in progress here with Monday underway. And the Transient Light Tarot bringing for us some final guidance before we attune to June and see what deck and elements and channeled words and all the things will be coming forward for an upcoming new June Sharecast to stay tuned for. So if you are here and you would like a personal card pull this week, you can let me know and we will coordinate. I know it's been a wild time, wild over here for sure. So I'm getting to all of those things as I'm able. Let's see. Ooh, nothing better than receiving the star for hope, healing, and renewal. The promise that even when, after the tower comes the star. Card 17. This is the Aquarian energy of the tarot, which is really bringing forward that what is possible in the most expansive way. But I love how this is almost looking like, it feels like buttermilk, is being poured, like something really like luxurious is being poured onto the mountains, which to me represent the challenges, the struggles, the highs, the lows, all of it, and how all of that can feel very exhausting, daunting, and unrelenting often, that it's sort of pouring it over as a soothing balm. I'm feeling that energy as it's coming over here in the way it's depicted here so beautifully. So we'll tune into that major arcana card kicking us off here and now on Monday of the final week of May. Tuesday is going to represent a potential block or challenge this week. We have some energetic weather to look at as well, so we'll see how that correlates with what's coming forward from the cards here. There we go. The Chariot. So another major arcana, two significant energies coming in this week, 17 and 7. The Chariot is giving us forward moving, things happening, action, blocked or challenged. Something coming in here through the mouth, which is having to do with our expression. I am feeling like some people have been getting messages around that in terms of most authentic expression versus, playing it safe and polite or anything there in between, the black and white. So we will feel into the unique expression of that here in this particular deck. And then that will make way for Wednesday as a midweek blessing. So a midweek blessing come Wednesday. Let's see what's coming forward there. Crown of Coins. So this is that, like the King of Pentacles, the Crown of Coins, the embodiment of the physical. This card came up at some point in the recent weeks, and I know that I believe it was the crossover week with Gemini season just kicking off. It feels like last week was forever ago, but I know we talked about this, and so interesting how the skull chain is coming through the crown. So the energy of what is dying or has died that is being reborn at this time is sort of looping around here in a way that's very much connected into our wise knowing, the crown, where we are receiving those downloads and those just awarenesses and things that are coming in. So we'll explore the blessing in that crown of coins coming in. Then Thursday is how are we growing? And when we are marking these different times, like the end of a month, how have we grown? What all in reflection of May, or as we look forward into June, might we expect in the ways of learning, growing, healing, and expanding as the Fools here on our journey? What's coming in? Thursday's energy. The 7 of Coins. Okay, interesting. So we have the 7 in the Chariot. We have the 7 in the coins, like a 7 of Pentacles. So there is an energy of pause and review before the harvest and sort of reflection there that's coming in. So we'll feel into that as something for us to acknowledge the growth, right? All May, we talked about tilling truth and tending growth. So this feels like a proper wrap up where we are looking back over all of that, all of the seeds planted, all of the gentle sprouts that might just be starting to come up, things that we've already been able to pluck, and bring forward. So we'll look at that energy. And then finally, Friday, we'll wrap it all up from the tarot perspective. What's coming in for Friday? all of these pentacles, 4 of coins. Appropriate, because this is the Friday before the full moon, where we are encouraged to release, to let go, to shed excess. And, the 4 of coins, the 4 of pentacles can be a card of hoarding, of holding on. What am I investing in? What all do I have here in this satchel? Likewise, I'll tell you a little analogy I like to give with the Chariot when we get there. But there's this energy of clearing out, realigning in a way, maybe like refinancing, which could be literal for some people in the way of pentacles. I know I've had a huge pentacles theme this month myself, very much in alignment with the primarily Taurian energy that we've had all month. But, it's not just about the dollars and cents. It's, our resources of all kinds and what is our relationship with them like, and how are we interacting with them, and where do we have an opportunity for this full moon to give us permission, give us a reason, if we needed one, to shed, release, and let go of some dense, heavy things that aren't serving anymore, that have been dragging along with us, that we are ready to free ourselves of, so that we can step into this new cycle lighter, brighter, and ready to rock, is what I'm feeling. Okay, let's pull our final card here, which will be from the Find Your Own Way Oracle, to cap off these messages, to give us some parting energies to connect in with as we finish out May. What is coming forward here from the Find Your Own Way? I think that rhymed without trying. One card, please. Okay. Ooh, root down to rise up. Beautiful. So that feels like, what we've been saying, and I can't help but get the matchy flavor right here with a little of this Merlin woodland brew for the nature spirits portal, but it's feeling like this energy of really reconciling all that we've moved through in May, all that we've planted in those gardens, by rooting down in order to rise up. I'm also feeling a little counting the rings here as well. So we'll tune into that message there to cap everything off at the end. But let's bring in a little bit of that Merlin as well, because we can't deny how that is just gorgeously winking at us as a matchy moment, along with the emerald dew and the Merlin energy together. That's really beautiful. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at some energetic weather, and we will roll forward from there. All right, here we go with some energetic weather to get into the energies that we are stepping into. I can report that after many days of gloominess and rain, there is a little sun breaking through today here, as you can kind of see in the picture. It's a totally different energy when I do the card pulls on Monday as opposed to Sunday. So hello to anyone who's getting to catch this live, and of course to anyone when you do, all in divine timing. So just a couple of aspects for us to highlight as we finish out the month, starting with tomorrow, Tuesday, May 26th, Mars in Taurus square Pluto in Aquarius. So interesting that we did pull the Aquarius card to start us off this week with the star. Also, we had a whole lot of coins cards with the Taurus energy. So let us see. Mars square Pluto can be a challenging energy, and this can stir up some tension and bring about frustration. So Mars and Pluto coming together can also be a trigger for power struggles and situations where we feel helpless. So we may find ourselves facing some struggle or difficult situations. But the bright side here is that this combination of energy usually allows us to reach a breaking point so that we can finally move forward towards a solution. So, if the tension is high, but we are supported here in order to take actions for the better. So we'll feel into that because that is Tuesday where our potential blocker challenge came forward as the Chariot, but very uniquely with that mouth and what was feeling like that pearl or stone. Is it rolling in? Is it shooting out? This is where we could be tuning into some of those power struggles and difficulty in communication there. Now, May 28th, we have Venus in Cancer square Saturn in Aries. So Venus square Saturn is another potentially harsh energy, but once again, we are inspired here to take action. This time, we're being guided to make peace with difficult relationship dynamics or financial issues. There we go. Like I said, we had a lot of coins come up this week, and specifically how we wrap it all up on Friday, the 29th, coming right up with the 4 of coins. So this is a time that we're being guided to make peace with those most difficult relationship dynamics or financial issues, and being called to step up and take responsibility for what we value the most. So we'll feel into that through the cards here coming up. And then May 29th through the 31st, so carrying us out through the weekend, we have the Aldebaran Gateway Silver Gate Portal. So when the sun aligns with the royal star Aldebaran, it activates a portal of high frequency energy. Now, some astrologers refer to this as the Silver Gate Portal. This portal beams down energy that can sharpen our minds, deepen our intuition, and increase our wisdom. Aldebaran is also said to be the resting place for souls right before they reincarnate back on Earth. In this resting place, the soul has a chance to reflect on why it is coming to Earth and the lessons that it will obtain. We can channel this space by connecting with our higher self and soul contract and remembering that every experience is a lesson. So we'll reflect on that through the cards. And then finally, our blue moon coming up on Sunday, May 31st, the Sagittarius blue moon. So that once in a blue moon is happening here with a Sagittarius full moon. Now, a blue moon occurs when we have 2 full moons in one calendar month. It's a rare event that happens roughly every 18 months or so. So this Sagittarius blue moon creates a strong theme of release throughout the month. And it could be that we're wrapping up a chapter of our lives that we have been working hard to complete. The Sagittarius full moon also guides us to seek adventure. We may find ourselves making a daring decision, seeking new experiences, or bringing a project to completion. Wow, I know many of us are moving through this in our own ways, and just as it's indicating that, this is something that has been bringing forward a strong theme of release all month. So building up to this finale on May 31st with a bang, with that Sagittarius fire, this is what's been gently, or maybe not so gently, as we've moved along, been slowly coming up to the surface as we've been tilling truth, tending to the growth. This is the big finale of May. So this will definitely be a moon for us to tap into what came up all month long, what came up with the full moon at the top of the month on May 1st, what came up with the new moon in Taurus just a week and a half ago. So not even. So there's really this energy of, reflection and then preparation to launch. So we're going to see how that's coming through the cards this week. Once again, if you would like some personal guidance, do let me know if you want a personal card pull. And then I highly recommend that you check out the Blue Moon reading that is available if you're not already with me for the Empowerment Pack, because we'll really be able to get into that assessment and reflection and really, connecting in with this lunation in a way that's going to give us a ritual, a spread, and guidance, and then stepping into June with the Empowerment Pack. So keep your eyes peeled for those if you're feeling called. Let's roll now into our cards. All right, here we go. Starting it all, little pun intended here, you're about to find out. Starting off the week, the star coming in here with the Hope, Promise, Renewal, which is really a beautiful energy. And as we tune into it through the Transient Light Tarot, the major arcana cards have a little prose at the beginning of them. And I had just seen it when I pressed record that says, "There is no start without a star. Gathering up the specks of inspiration, wonder of manifestation. Recall the flowers that only bloom at night. Look no further for equa-beauty than our open palms. See what it is your light can truly do, the genesis of you. So that's beautiful, bringing us into the spark, to the speck of stardust from which we all came, right? So this is really giving us this expansive, the cosmos is within you type energy that we can tune into as we navigate what does appear to be a lot more of the boots on the ground, physical. There's a lot, like I said, it's coins through here, other than our two major arcana. So beginning of the week, we're seeing the significant energy of the star and then the chariot that we'll talk about in just a few moments. And then it's all coins. So there does seem to be sort of this bridge potential of the chariot between the heavens and the earth is what I'm feeling there with the star and then the coins. So this is speaking to inspiration, purpose, motivation, and spark. Inspiration is uniquely found in the things that truly move you. Just as the Magi from the east were moved to follow the star leading to their king, guiding inspiration will be found in the things that touch your heart and speak to your purpose. The star nourishes us with energy we need to grow and manifest. Find ways to inspire both your physical and spiritual self by following what calls you by name. When you do so, you will energize others in return. Yeah, wow, that's beautiful. Exactly. Heaven and earth, bringing together the physical and the spiritual. And so I really feel that the star and, the fact that we brought in the magenta bridge is no coincidence. Energetically, we're tuning into how it could be showing up for us in the physical. But the overarching message of maintaining that hope, promise, eye on the prize, kind of following that yonder star in a way that trusts that what you see out there is a reflection of what is coming from within you in terms of your highest guidance, that spark of inspiration, that desire, that essence within you, that just as that little prose was saying, that is your true light. And it is the genesis of you, your origin, your essence. So, that's a bigger message that then we can ground in perhaps in some practical ways as we move into the week. But let's take a look at that potential block or challenge on what starts out energetically as some of the more challenging days of the week in terms of the energies. All right, Tuesday coming in here with the second major arcana card, the Chariot, in a very unique depiction. So I am intrigued to see how this energy, the first of 2 7 cards this week, is coming in with the potential of a block or challenge that's also giving us a pathway forward. So once again, as a major arcana card, the prose with this one says, your creation and focus has you licking the Milky Way, cocooned no longer in those pithy shields of self-doubt. High-octane delivery of purpose. Don't rest your head just yet. Strike while the crescent moons, pendulums, and pentacles conjoin, making a fierce arrowhead shape. Wow. So, yeah, there's some sacred geometry in here too, pulling together those different shapes that maybe make up what we see materialized as our reality, but there's something that's much more in transit here in terms of, okay, we're no longer cocooned as we once were, and we're stepping into potentially revving up the motor a bit with that high octane delivery of something that is purposeful, that we're inspired by, or that we've been wanting, like we said, from a practical point of view, finishing up projects or initiating projects or doing a thing. I'm telling you, several of you have reached out to me to share unbelievable steps that you've taken this month to put yourself out there in some way, to try something new, to do something that might seem totally not you, but actually is you. I was just about to make up like a word to say like authenticated, but like authentize. I was going to make up like another word to say that it's the authentic you once you start to strip away the masks and the layers and you allow yourself to shine. You might say, oh, that's not me. I would never do that. I don't put myself out there. I don't do it that way. That's because of a conditioned aspect of you that may have been playing small to keep safe or was in fear of some form of judgment, of misunderstanding, of failure, whatever it is. But actually the thing, you doing the thing, is the most authentic thing you've done in a long time, right? Even if it feels out of character. You are out of character. You're stepping out of the character, the avatar that you've been playing, and more into your authentic essence. Powerful, but also could be hard, challenging, a little bit uncomfortable, right? So let's see what the Chariot has to say around the activation, willpower, creation, and focus that can come forward through this energy. The Chariot speaks their vision into action, stating their will and manifesting it. You have nurtured an idea within, and it's time to use your willpower to breathe life into it. Take a deep breath and speak. With action comes responsibility, so although speed is sometimes required, use wisdom and foresight to nurture your will into a reality. Yeah, there's definitely, it's funny. I don't know if this is intended to be like, it's giving me pinball or bowling ball. But it is reminding me of like sort of, I'm feeling the pinball because from what I remember of ever playing pinball, as a novice, as a child, you kind of like pull back and hope for the best in terms of like which angle you're coming at it to let it go and shoot that pinball through the maze, through all the things, the blocks, the barriers, the loops and everything in order to hit a particular target. And this is giving me that Sagittarius full moon energy because when we think about the archer, when we think about really aligning with what are our goals, where do I wish to go? And we've talked about this all month when it comes to we don't feed the weeds, right? Where our focus goes, energy flows. So we're wanting to kind of realign, reassess, what are we aiming for? What are we putting energy to? And we're getting a little, put the pinball where your mouth is. Put the arrow where your mouth is, right? Because there's this energy of saying we've been talking out of both sides because there's the thing that we say we want. And then there's the things that we then go and say and do and be that may or may not align with that. And so, we might be getting called out a little bit with that energy of the astrological weather this week, speaking to that Venus and Saturn energy, because we talked about how we're going to be called into on this day, as a matter of fact, or the day following, to be really taking accountability and responsibility for what it is that we value the most and following that through. So, one of the things I was going to say about the Chariot that was reminding me of the Four of Coins that ends the week, I often speak to the Chariot as a vehicle, and we use all the car road trip like analogies where we say that before you head out on any big journey, you want to make sure all the things, that the tires are rotated, the oil's changed, that the tank is full of gas these days, and then that there's no junk in the trunk. And it was the junk in the trunk that I was feeling into in the same way of cleaning out that satchel, looking at what we've been putting our focus into, what we have been energizing, what we've been feeding, what we've been investing in, and whether that matches up with what we say we want, what our highest expression is. So the Chariot feels like it's here to get us back on track. And there is a little tough love. The Saturn tough love for me is the black and white, seeing things very this or that, very much like, nope, this is it. You need to take responsibility, accountability, take action, let's go. And that's pulling a bit at odds with that Venus in Cancer, which, by the way, Cancer is the sign of the Chariot, bringing us into our identities and homes and the mother wounds, mother energy, really feeling into our authentic expression. Venus, which is much softer and loving and all of that, kind of, like I say, being sort of affronted with a square to Saturn in fiery, confrontational at times, Aries. So that's where I could see there could be some friction. And some of this might be more internal friction than external, because it's almost like we're at odds with ourself to say that, like, when push comes to shove, when all is said and done, I want this thing. I like this thing. I could see myself doing, being, acting, expressing in some particular way. And yet this other thing is preventing me from moving forward. And those are the things that have to go. And the more that we ignore that, or we look to kind of put it to the side or try to make it fit, the louder it will become as being misaligned and not having a place in where our higher self is directing us to go. And thinking of that as the part that directs the pinball is our higher self, right? So the higher self has been trying to help us to aim and execute. And then somewhere in there, things get a little wonky with putting our money where our mouth is, saying and doing the thing. So I feel that too. So, if that speaks to you, if there's something that you've been trying to get off the ground or that you've been feeling but just haven't quite been able to figure out, or maybe you have taken a leap of faith or done something this whole month that you're wanting to get some more insight into, that's where you may want a personal card pull to look at that more specifically for you. Let's go ahead now and check out Wednesday for our midweek. All right. Speaking of putting our money where our mouth is, the Crown of Coins comes forward, the embodiment of the Pentacles, as traditionally the King of Pentacles, coming back as the Crown of Coins. I know we've seen this month, and as we look to the Transient Light's guidance, it's speaking to that with great riches comes great responsibility. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? So this energy of offsetting pride, the Crown of Coins wears a token of humility as a reminder of their origin. Responsible leadership, distribution of energy and wealth is a duty that requires discipline. Stay grounded and connected with your humanity and humble beginnings. Perhaps meditate, focusing on the body. Sit with the energy flowing through your veins and appreciate the fragility of life. That's reminding me of, especially if we are feeling frustration at things materializing for us, it feels like it's taking a lot longer than we thought, or when is it going to happen, or if we're feeling any of that restless energy, that reminder that we get to realize that everything that you see in your reality now, everything that you're experiencing in your reality now is something that a younger version of you could have only wished for, hoped for. So, sometimes it can be difficult, and this is going to lead into our Thursday card as well. It can be difficult to see the blessings when things are not appearing the way that maybe we expected them to or anticipated that they would. But actually, again, kind of realigning and adjusting that. If it's starting to feel heavy, if it's starting to feel weighing you down, the burden of a responsibility that you have, or, in this way of it reminding us of our more humble beginnings, is to take an assessment on what has brought us here. So there's a midweek blessing coming in for Wednesday that is about, recognizing that, yes, I'm going to reverse it. Like, I have a lot of responsibility. I have a lot of things going on, a lot of things that whether I'm directly responsible for them or that are expected of me, or I just have a long to-do list or what, that there's also great riches with that. So we're flipping it from, with great riches comes great responsibility. If I'm not feeling rich, right, then let me look at all of the responsibilities I have and recognize that those responsibilities bring with them those riches. the bonuses, the benefits, the perks, the things that we may take for granted, but actually, getting some fresh perspective on what they do bring into our lives. And that can show up in so many different ways, but, sometimes it can be frustrating when a day doesn't go the way we planned or something falls through. And then in retrospect, we end up being able to see how it actually was for the best. And brings forward maybe even a little from FOMO to JOMO, from the fear of missing out to the joy of missing out, to say, yeah, you know what, I was bummed when that thing was canceled or when I wasn't able to make it for whatever reason. But now I see why the extra rest was needed, or the opening that created in my day gave me some desperately needed downtime to reassess or to take care of a thing, and so seeing all of those riches within the responsibilities is a reminder we get there through this crown of coins. Let's flow into Thursday because this is feeling very connected. So Thursday is, how are we growing? How have we grown throughout this season, throughout this month of May? 7 of coins. So this is really about taking that pause for reflection and some honest assessment. So as we look at our riches and our responsibilities and all the things we were just talking about, the 7 of coins comes in to say, if you've been working hard to reach your goals, take a pause and appreciate, here we are, how far you've come, right? That everything I see around me, even if it's not a complete picture, even if it isn't a finished sentence, these are all things I could only once dream of that I have now. And we're not saying that to feel guilty or ungrateful. We're taking an honest assessment, right? This is, again, some of the energies this week that could be on the surface difficult, crunchy, harsh, but actually are all serving us, right? And being called to step up and take that responsibility for what we value the most. That's really the crux of these 3 cards right here. The crown of coins, the 7 of coins, and the 4 of coins, really speaking to that energy coming in this week. So, and that includes the Aldebaran Gateway. We were talking about that Silver Gate portal and speaking to it being said to be the resting place for souls right before they reincarnate back to Earth. That is about a resting place, a pause where we take assessment of our higher self and soul contract, remembering what we see around us that's just illusory, but just all feels very real because we manifest it that way through our beliefs and our ideas and our understandings. We create the reality that we see. That this is giving us this Silvergate portal an opportunity to connect back in with higher self when it comes to what did I originally intend to do here anyway, right? And getting some clarity around that. And that comes in through the pause. So it's saying, appreciate how far you've come, because it may be the last quiet moment before the results of your labor really come into fruition. Yes. So we're picturing that soul just before they're about to step back into the fray, and they have that sweet, quiet moment just before it all breaks loose, right? And so whether we're talking about a concept as big as that, to say from my soul perspective, what I came here for, the learning, growing, healing, expanding as a soul, to okay, I want to launch this project. And there's been all this preparation and all of this, this thinking about it and strategizing. And now it's just about go time with the Chariot. And I'm in this pause, this quiet moment before it all starts happening. Before it's the moment that we pull back the pinball. What is that thing called? We pull it back, we let it go. So it's just like the archer with the arrow. That moment that we pull back to when we let it go and it's going to go, right? So that's also what I'm feeling here in this 7 of coins, as how are we growing? How have we grown? So take stock of the direction, making sure that the upcoming results are aligned with what you originally intended. This is what I've been tapping into. Be wary of others' influences at this critical time. Glean fresh motivation and energy from your progress and keep yourself nourished for the work left to complete. Yeah, it's sort of like a midpoint, and appropriately so, because guess what's coming up? Believe it or not, the 6th month of the year, the midway point, solstice, So this is preparing us for it, in preparation for the growth that we set out and intended. So even though what we see right around us might look like the last thing I would ever wish for, this is about getting in touch with that wise aspect of yourself to remember, right? So that is definitely something that, is going to hit for some people in a big way. For others, it could be just all those little details that make up the big stuff. And truly, when we really zoom in, that's what we're all doing, right? It can be a very big thing, but it happens in a myriad of little decisions, little steps, little ways that we move through this process. So let's finish off the tarot messages now with Friday's card. All right, Friday, I think, is a final call out because, like I said, this 4 of coins is really showing up to say, like, what all do you have stuffed in there, really, in this bag of tricks? What junk do you have in that trunk? Because it is time to bring it out and see, what are we working with, right? What have we been investing in? And does that match up with what we say we want? What we're doing, this act of what we're holding versus what we are saying and expressing. 4 of coins. It says this card represents the unused resources or talents that you are sitting on. Perhaps you have worked hard to save your earnings or build experience. Maybe you've received a gift or possess a talent. Either way, it's prudent to protect what you have. But it may be time to take action or plan how to invest them into something bigger and better. It's wise to not be reckless, but it's a waste to have no purpose. Be wary of bad investments or places your talents will be unappreciated. Yeah. So this is really calling it out to say, where have you been putting your time, your energy, your talent? Is that juice worth the squeeze? Are we getting the return on investment? Does that feel in alignment with your big wishes, with your big hopes, with the big direction that you feel your soul is being called to go? And, really what's being amplified here for us with this blue moon that we're building up to here with Friday's energy is calling that all out. Let's pull it all out of the bag and spread it all out here, right? So we can see what all we have in there and what we can do with it. And to be sure that it's not being put somewhere that will not be appreciated or not be maximized as the gift that it is for you to give freely as well. So I do feel that there's a lot of this, people having to come to terms with all these things, taking responsibility for the role that they're playing, just as the energetic weather has really been spot on here with these cards as well, that build up to this big release of Sunday's full blue moon in Sagittarius, where there is a lot of potential for fiery ignition into this midway point of the year of June, of summer solstice, and all the energies that will come on the other side. But for now, we're going to turn into our oracle message to root down and rise up. So here we are, the final card for the final week of May, culminating into Find Your Own Way. The oracle card that says root down to rise up. It says, have you ever counted a tree's age by examining the rings in its trunk? Each ring represents a year of wisdom, expanding outward in layers of strength. Similarly, the breadth and height of its branches reflect the grounding roots below the surface. Focusing on your roots and inner expansion is crucial if you want to reach your potential. Reaching too high before you're ready can leave you vulnerable and unsupported. Just as pruning a tree strengthens its roots, identifying and addressing the branches in your life that drain your energy can help you stay aligned with your greater purpose. Drawing close to the earth and your foundations isn't a step back. It offers valuable perspective and reinforces your growth. The affirmation, may I stay grounded, expanding outward before growing upward. Wow. So this is really aligned with everything we've been tuning into and just really displayed in this beautiful way. We have Merlin's energy coming in here as a portal to getting to our true nature. And, you know, this energy that we infused in is the nature spirits portal spray. And I'm tuning into that as returning to our own nature and the essence of who we are and having that honest assessment that we've been talking about through all of these cards. But the way that it's depicted here is reminding me of, you know, a little tarot oracle card to life moment. Is that just yesterday, in between the raindrops, we did sit outside for a little bit. We were talking to very dear friends of ours that were here, and we were looking around. My husband and the other husband, they like to tease each other about whose lawn is in top shape and, you know, who's got all the, you know, and as this time of year, things turning green and, you know, stuff growing in, is when you can really see in the trees the dead branches, right? Because now that the trees have all been blossoming and you can see the leaves again, it becomes really apparent which branches are no longer capable of producing. And that's what I was tapping into here with this sense of, you know, where we're being left vulnerable and unsupported. And in that way, pruning a tree strengthens its roots. So, you know, when we might see and like I'm picturing the trees in my yard, that nature is always speaking, that we were just making small talk about this, but yet look at the deeper meaning. That when you look at the trees reflecting back to you, the places where their energy has been depleted, where there is a leak. And so it's time to prune. So this is what this full moon is bringing in, is an opportunity to prune those branches. Now that we've had this season of renewal and reinvigorating through spring, the rebirth, the blooming again, and those things are all starting to happen in nature and then reflecting back into our nature, it's giving us an opportunity for us to cut back, to prune where necessary. So it's interesting. I took a picture of the actual tree I'm thinking of the other day, and it must be said, it looks so much like this spray. So I'm going to bring it up here real quick and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so the Merlin's Woodland Brew, that nature spirits portal where we see that at the center of the trunk of the tree. This is the tree that caught my eye the other week with the sun shining through so beautifully. The birds were singing. I mean, things are looking good, right? It was beautiful. You can see this is beautiful. And if you look to the lower left side, you might see some of the jagged branches that don't have leaves on them. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. You know, we're just sitting around making small talk, looking around the yard. What's reflected back to me is great beauty, great potential. You know, all of that we see in the tree. And we see some dead weight. And we see some rough branches that are perhaps leaving us vulnerable and drained in a way that's not supporting us. So this is the Nature Speaks token for us to take with us into this week, is to take a look at your spiritual garden, thinking of it, whether you're thinking of your own physical temple, your home, your spaces, anywhere that you're holding on to energy, and assessing, you know, where some pruning is necessary. So that's really where we're pulling in all of the cards this week, but very powerfully that the coins, that's that trio that finished out the week. We have big energy coming in that's anchoring us to then move into the work of getting down in the dirt for this last go round in May, digging around, tilling truth, tending to our growth, creating that hospitable environment for us to really grow, to tend to that growth, to nurture it, to foster it, and really look forward to the big, bold, beautiful blooms that are coming forward in this next season that's just getting ready to come in. So once again, I'm going to spray again that Merlin Woodland Brew, sealing that in, bringing down that energy for us to anchor into our own trunks, root down, rise up. Beautiful messages, beautiful cards coming forward this week. I hope you've been enjoying, resonating with the messages throughout this entire month. Thank you so much for being here when you can and as you are, just as I'm trying to show up for you. If you would like a personal card pull this week, let me know. If you're interested in coming along for what is definitely shaping up to be a very potent, powerful, full blue moon in Sagittarius on Sunday, let me know. And if you want to come along for the June Empowerment Pack, I can already tell it is going to be fruitful. That is a little wink nod to some of the themes that I'm tapping into. All right, I am wishing you all a beautiful week ahead. Much love, many blessings, and we'll talk soon.